Maya Chen adjusted her press credentials as she stepped off the military transport vehicle, her camera bag heavy against her shoulder. The forward operating base somewhere in the disputed border region looked exactly like the sanitized version the press office had promised, organized, calm, and perfectly stage-managed for journalists. She had been embedded with the unit for 3 days now, and every shot, every interview, every moment had been carefully orchestrated by Captain Wilson, the stern-faced public affairs officer who shadowed her constantly. But Maya hadn't won 2 journalism awards by accepting the official narrative without question. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. It was 11:37 p.m. when Maya noticed the change in atmosphere. Soldiers who had been casually going about their evening routines suddenly moved with purpose, their relaxed expressions replaced by focused intensity. Captain Wilson, who usually hovered nearby, had disappeared entirely. Through her barrack window, Maya watched as trucks rolled out with their headlights off, barely visible against the moonless night. Her instincts screamed that something significant was happening, something she wasn't supposed to see. She grabbed her camera, a compact model she could conceal easily, and slipped out into the shadows. The main compound was nearly empty now, but voices carried from the operations center, a converted warehouse at the far end of the base. Maya moved carefully, keeping to the dark spaces between buildings, her heart pounding so hard she was certain someone would hear it. She had filmed in war zones before, but she had never deliberately defied a military escort. If they caught her, she would be sent home in disgrace, possibly facing charges. But something told her this story mattered. The operations center's side door was slightly ajar, probably left open by someone moving too quickly to secure it properly. Maya positioned herself in the darkness outside, raised her camera, and began filming through the gap. Inside, she could see a group of officers huddled around a table covered with maps and satellite images. A young lieutenant, barely older than 25, was speaking rapidly while pointing at specific locations. Maya could only catch fragments of the conversation, but certain words stood out clearly. Civilian compound, hostages, intelligence failure, and most chilling of all, unauthorized strike imminent. We have confirmation that at least 30 families are sheltering in the target building, the lieutenant was saying, his voice tight with urgency. Command believes the insurgent leaders are hiding there, but the intelligence is 3 days old. If we proceed with the air strike at 0300 hours, we could be killing innocent people. A colonel Maya didn't recognize slammed his hand on the table. Our orders come from the top. The strike has been approved at the highest levels. Those insurgents have been planning attacks that could kill hundreds of our people. Sir, with respect, we don't know if they're still there, another officer interjected, a woman with major's insignia. Our human intelligence sources say the compound is now being used as a shelter, families with children. We need to verify before we... We don't have time for verification, the colonel interrupted sharply. The aircraft are already in position. This operation happens in 3.5 hours unless someone can give me concrete proof those insurgents have moved. Maya's hands trembled as she continued filming, but her mind was racing even faster. She was holding evidence of a potential catastrophe, but what could she do with it? If she went public immediately, she would be accused of compromising military operations and endangering soldiers. If she did nothing, innocent families might die in just over 3 hours. The weight of the decision pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. A hand suddenly gripped her shoulder and Maya nearly dropped her camera. She spun around to find Captain Wilson staring at her with an expression that mixed anger and something else. Was it fear? "Ms. Chen, you need to come with me right now," he said quietly, but his grip was firm. He led her not to the security office as she expected, but to a small communications room where they were alone. Wilson closed the door and turned to face her, his jaw clenched. "How much did you film?" Maya held the camera protectively. "Enough to know that innocent people might die tonight because of bad intelligence. Enough to know that some of your people in there are trying to stop it." Wilson was silent for a long moment, and Maya saw him wrestling with something internal. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "My daughter is 6 years old. Those families in that compound, they have children too. But if I help you, if I let you use that footage, my career is over. I could face court-martial. My family could lose everything." "And if you don't help me," Maya asked softly, "how will you explain to your daughter why you stood by and did nothing?" The silence stretched between them, heavy with consequence. Outside, they could hear the distant sound of aircraft engines warming up. Time was running out. Wilson suddenly grabbed a radio from the desk. "This is Captain Wilson. I need an immediate secure line to General Matthews at Central Command. Priority Alpha. Tell him we have time-sensitive intelligence regarding Operation Silent Thunder that requires his immediate attention." He looked at Maya. "Send your footage to him now. Use my authorization code. If anyone can stop this, it's Matthews. He actually listens." Maya's hands shook as she connected her camera to the communications system, uploading the footage to the encrypted server Wilson directed her to. Minutes felt like hours as the file transferred. At 2:41 a.m., Wilson's radio crackled to life. "Captain Wilson, this is General Matthews. I've reviewed the footage. Stand by." They waited, neither daring to speak. The aircraft engines grew louder. Maya checked her watch. 2:53 a.m. At 2:57 a.m., the radio came alive again. "All units, Operation Silent Thunder is aborted. I repeat, aborted. Ground reconnaissance teams will verify the target compound contents before any further action. Matthews out." Wilson let out a breath he seemed to have been holding forever. Maya felt her legs go weak and had to sit down. They had stopped it. But the relief was immediately complicated by the reality of what would come next. "I'm done," Wilson said matter-of-factly. "They'll investigate how a reporter got that footage. My career is over." "Then we tell the truth," Maya replied. "All of it. Not just about tonight, but about officers who cared more about innocent lives than following orders blindly. About the system that almost killed families based on old intelligence. That's the real story." 3 days later, Maya's story broke internationally, complete with the footage and interviews with the officers who had objected to the strike. Ground teams had confirmed the compound held only civilians. The insurgents had left 2 days earlier. The story created shockwaves through the military command structure, leading to reforms in intelligence verification protocols. Captain Wilson faced disciplinary action, but was ultimately commended for preventing a tragedy, his career damaged but not destroyed. And Maya learned that sometimes the most important story isn't the one you're allowed to film. It's the one you risk everything to reveal.